Greiner Talks, about sustainability and transformation. A Greiner podcast episode.
This is Greiner Talks, our podcast about sustainability and transformation. My name is Alexander, and this time I'm talking to a true expert and pioneer when it comes to sustainability ratings and supply chains. About 15 years ago, when the sustainability debate was not as prominent as today, he started a company that is now one of the most important providers of sustainability ratings in the world. Hello and welcome to the co-founder and co-CEO of EcoVadis, Pierre-Francois Thaler.
Good morning, Alexander. Really glad to be with you today.
Thank you so much for taking your time, Pierre-Francois. And please let me know, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Is it the Austrian way or the French way?
I think that's the kind of a mix because I lived in the US but you're right, I am Thaler. I think you should say Thaler is from a Austrian origin. I think my parents were living in Austria and what you might not know is that Thaler, I learned, is the origin of the word dollar as well, when Austrian settlers moved in the US. But that's a long time ago.
Good to know about your connection to Austria. And Pierre-Francois, on your Twitter profile, it says that you are a sustainability dreamer. What do you mean by that? Do you think that we still need to be dreamers to believe in a sustainable world?
What I mean by that is, I think if we want to see the change that we need to see, in the next 10 years, we need to think big. We need to dream a bit. We need to dream about innovations which are going to change, the way some of the, fundamental way some materials are produced. And so, I'm dreaming for a better future, and I'm dreaming about solutions to enable it.
And from dreaming to reality, now you're running one of the most successful companies that provides sustainability ratings. 15 years ago, when you started, I guess that was also a dream to get to this stage. How did that start? How did all of that take off?
So I think when we started 14 years ago, we never dreamt it will be so big and will be, covering the entire globe with a team spanning from Melbourne to Tokyo and San Francisco. But we also never thought that the problem will be as big as it is today. I think when we started in 2014, we thought that on climate change and on plenty of environmental topics, we'll be able to fix things faster than they've been fixed. But, here we are, we have 10 years to address some of the biggest challenge, our species has faced, and we need to do much more as a society, as corporate, as companies to, improve things on environmental and social topics.
And for our listeners who are not so familiar with the topic of sustainability ratings, of supply chains, can you explain what is EcoVadis? What's your mission?
So what we are doing is we are helping, large corporate buyers like Greiner understand the environmental, social, and governance practices of their suppliers all over the world. So, large companies have thousands of business partners, tens of thousands if you include subcontractors. And we're providing an easy way for them to access to reliable ratings on their performance so that in their procurement decision or their business award decision, they can decide, how they want to factor sustainability the same way they factor price or quality. So we're helping embed, sustainability into procurement decisions.
Now, you are already mentioning sustainable supply chains, and you also mentioned that there is thousands of suppliers, of subcontractors, and so on. And while there is the impression on the one hand that we live in an age of transparency, of information overload, on the other hand, it is incredibly difficult to monitor these supply chains and to monitor all of these thousands of companies that are in this supply chain. How do we deal with that?
So you're right. This is very difficult due to the size of supply chain. We think that 5 million companies are supplying the largest company in the world. It's only the direct suppliers. If you were to look at the lower tier, it will be, tens of millions of companies. So if you want to address this challenge, you need two things. You need technology and you need collaboration. You need technology because if you want to, capture this data, analyze this data, update this data in real time on a massive scale, you can't do it with Excel or pen and paper. You need to use, technology to automate, the process. And big part of what EcoVadis is doing is providing this technological platform. And you also need collaboration because, no one company can solve this. And our vision is that large corporate buyers, can collaborate around a common standard, a common platform to engage their suppliers. And today we're working with Greiner and 600 other large corporate buyers, who understand that to drive this trend, they need to have a common standard, a common platform that their suppliers answer once and then share with multiple customers.
Can you explain that to me in a easy way? How is the system working? So we are assessing ourselves. We are also assessing our suppliers. How does that work?
Well, if we take the example of Greiner, I think we started the relationship with you in 5 years ago. First time you got to know EcoVadis, one of your large customer, invited you to join the platform in order to be assessed. And I think at that time, Greiner didn't have the performance and the score you have today. So for the first couple of years, it was, your own assessment. And then you decided that you wanted to do the same thing to engage your own suppliers because, your customers know that most of the challenges are in your own supply chain. So you've been in the past, 2-3 years starting to engage all your strategic vendors to, also start to report, also start to be assessed. And so it's a combination of, questionnaires and data we get from different sources and audit reports, which are analyzed in order to create simple scores on a 0 to 100 scale on all dimensions, score on environment, score on social, score on supply chain sustainability, and score on governance.
And since you're already mentioning our scores, let me ask straight out, where do we stand?
I just saw that Greiner in the latest assessment got a gold medal, which means you are in the top 5% of all the companies we rate globally. So that's 75,000 companies globally. And by congratulations. And I think that's a result of, process. More than me, but over the past couple of years, you've been doing lots of things internally to ramp up your CSR practices and reporting and actions internally, and the rating we provide, and that is shared with your customers, is only reflecting this.
And let me ask another question regarding the added value of EcoVadis, because just recently we have released our sustainability report, and on more than 180 pages, you see transparently where we stand and what we are doing to become a more sustainable company. Now, I'm wondering, isn't that enough transparency? Why do we need to participate in an additional rating like EcoVadis?
So that's an important element. If I turn the table, your 1,000 suppliers, if your 1,000 suppliers were sending Greiner very nice CSR reports, your buyers, your procurement teams will not know how to compare them. It's very important to be able to analyze all this data and translate this into a comparable score, because then it can be used in procurement decisions. And then procurement teams can say, okay, from now on, sustainability will account for 10% of the business award decision, and we'll use this score, same way we've been using a score on quality or a score on the, cost competitiveness for years. And being able to score, or translate it to a numerical figure, all this qualitative data, it's very important to give more weight.
And now you have mentioned that we are in the top 5% in the EcoVadis rating, and we have received the gold medal. Also, you have mentioned that sustainable supply chains and purchasing procurement is, of course, very closely related to each other. Now, I'm wondering, do you have any particular advice for my colleagues working in procurement, in purchasing?
So I think here, your colleagues have been doing a pretty good job already, because in the past 2 years, they get all your strategic vendors to, engage in this process of, ESG assessments. Now, the objective is to get them to improve, and move your spend towards the most sustainable suppliers. What we've seen that the most successful way to do it is giving incentives, for example, giving a formal weight to sustainability in the business award decisions. that's what you expect from your customers as well. If in the next big RFP, the big pharma companies you work for or the big FMCG companies you work for say the EcoVadis rating will account for 10% in the business award decision, but with your gold rating now, you probably have a slightly better chance to win the business than you had before. So to create this virtuous circle or this virtuous chain, it's basically giving a higher weight to sustainability in business decisions.
That's what we try to do on all levels, and also with our sustainability strategy. That's what we try to do. Just to give you an insight, our 3 main pillars are to become a climate neutral business, to become a fully circular business, and also to empower people. I'm wondering, which of that pillars do you believe to be the key for improving our ratings and for becoming more sustainable?
So I think it will always depend from industry to industry. But when I look at packaging and when I look at consumer goods and pharma, those are probably indeed the 3 most important topics. Another one we see raising and being very important for customers, specifically in the US, is everything around diversity and equality, in the workforce. But when we discuss about Fortune 500 companies, all the large, FMCG companies you are supplying to, indeed, they tell us that climate, circular economy are top priorities. Many of them, they are now, for example, on climate, they are looking for suppliers who are going to commit to either carbon neutrality or reducing their carbon emission by 50% in a shorter time frame. So if you can do this, that's a way for you also to differentiate. And I think it is going to be more and more important in the next couple of years, and more important, not only in Europe, but also in North America, and I think tomorrow in Asia. So it's really becoming a global movement. What started in Europe, where companies were more engaged maybe than in other countries, it's really, spreading all over the world. So an opportunity for you as well to expand your business and get recognition for those efforts and those commitments from international customers.
You have more than 15 years at EcoVadis, and you have worked with an incredible amount of companies that want to transform, that want to become sustainable. What is the key to succeed in that transformation? Can you share 1 or 2 learnings with us?
So a couple of things I learned is, 1, it's very important to be laser focused on a couple of topics. Companies who are trying to do everything and skim the surface, it's difficult. So when you say your strategy is focused on, climate and circularity and empowering the teams, I think that's a clear focus. Second one is around change management. It's a lot of change, and nowadays employees and consumers, they are welcoming this, but still it's not easy to explain. Some of the companies we work with, we've been the most successful in the past couple of years. They've been really good at internal communication, change management. What you're doing with this podcast, for example, I think it's an element of that. But, you should not underestimate the change management effort. And maybe a last one I mentioned already, but on this topic of collaboration, it's, you won't do this on your own. You need to either use solutions which are used by other companies or set up collaborative initiatives, maybe with your competitors. If you want to address some of the most fundamental or most challenging aspects of like plastics and packaging, maybe it's not something that will be done by, your company only. You need to, share with competitors on how you could tackle some of the most burning challenges.
So collaboration and focus are clearly 2 of the main elements needed to succeed in that transformation. And now I'm very curious to ask one final question to you, Pierre-Francois. We've been speaking about sustainability ratings all the time. Do you also do a sustainability rating for you personally? What would be your EcoVadis score as a private person?
I think I can improve. That's the most important one. I'm not sure what will be my score, but I know I can still improve. I've got a family now with 4 kids. They are challenging me nicely. So it's like not only doing it on your own. It's also collaborative in a way. But I don't think we want to score people on sustainability. That would be pretty challenging. But I'm sure I can improve.
Then I'll not keep on asking here, but I would like to ask you for a very final word wrap, if that's fine for you. So I would give you a few words, terms, and you can answer with whatever comes to your mind. It could be one word or it could be one short sentence. So the first term is impact.
The most challenging to define.
Emissions.
Still growing, but now everyone is looking at this, at least.
Transparency.
We will always ask for more.
Next one is Paris.
Agreement.
Al Gore.
He inspired us a lot. Inconvenient Truth, one of the movies who gave us the idea to start EcoVadis in 2007.
And last but not least, your message to the world?
My message to the world is we don't have much time, but there is so much change happening in the past 18 months or 24 months that I think there is really a great opportunity to transform economies in the way we need to do to really do this U-turn on climate and do improve things in a massive way. So join the movement, and it's an exciting ride.
Thanks for that positive statement in the end. And thank you very much for taking your time, Pierre-Francois.
Thank you, Alexander. And thanks for everything you do to promote sustainability and help reach out to a wider audience.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to our episode today. Please make sure to have a look at the EcoVadis website and have a look at our website, sustainability.greiner.com. Subscribe to the podcast, stay healthy, and have a nice day.
Greiner Talks, a Greiner podcast. Subscribe now.